Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about academic language and differentiated instruction and what that kind of looks like in science. So first things first, Tomlinson and McTeague talk about differentiation, and they say that you should be using different instructional approaches to develop and deepen students' understanding of important ideas. And in science, we mainly use essential questions. And what's really interesting is that they're respectful of students' differences in prior knowledge, skill levels, and preferred thinking styles. All students have some idea of how to answer the question. They know something, they have background knowledge, and so it's important to kind of acknowledge that. And then when you're using your essential question, it's helpful to use kid-friendly language, so like without all that jargon, and then it helps students personalize the questions, and then you can post it around the classroom. Or in my class, we have students write it in their notebooks, and so essential questions are helpful for planning a unit. We use it a lot in science. We plan the unit, and really you have the essential question towards the end, and then all the activities that they have and the lessons kind of lead up to answering that question. So it's helpful when it comes to planning. And then they talk about addressing patterns of student needs to benefit many learners. And so differentiation is more of like a ramp, that you're building for one student or for a group of students, but really it can benefit all learners. And you're looking not just for, oh, what can I do specifically, but like, how can you support different groups of students? So for example, students who need support in reading, students who need vocabulary building, students who have difficulty paying attention in class, or have a need to address strengths in one area of study, or need targeted instruction and practice. And so let me just focus in on difficulty attending in class, because this one's really important to me. One way of kind of getting students or keeping students engaged is using think, pair, shares. Kids love to talk. They love to have the opportunity to talk to their peers. So this is really, useful. And then providing choices of tasks or modes of working, using multiple modes of a teacher presentation. So not just going up there and just talking and presenting, but using videos and other ways of presenting the information. And then shifting activities around during class period, so they're not just working independently the whole time. You might have, I guess that's the point of the whole modeling, guided instruction, independent part, because you should have different, ways of doing activities. Like in my classroom, it starts off independent, and then we go off and do a little bit of lecturing, and they work in groups or in partners, and then they might work alone later on, and then we might come back together as a class, and it keeps the kids focused. And then using graphic organizers to kind of design to match the flow of ideas. And so kind of understanding that differentiation is, yeah, it's a ramp, but you can pay attention to the patterns of student needs to kind of address them. So Zwires and Crawford focus more on academic language, and they talk about how you can kind of build academic language and promote academic language through academic conversations, and that's by using prompts. So you can base your prompts on a deep essential question, like an essential question, or you can base it on a thinking skill. So for example, at the beginning of this unit on evolution, we had the kids think about, how did cell phones change from the 1980s all the way up until today? Right? And so that was kind of like a question. And then they used some thinking skills like comparing, contrasting, interpreting. Some of them have never really seen a 1980s phone. They're interpreting, these pictures and trying to find, the cause and effect. You can base the prompt on a product or a task, or on life experiences. And in the case of the cell phone thing, it really is based on life experiences, because most of them have cell phones. And then developing academic vocabulary and grammar through conversation, which is really cool. You can do this using a variety of activities. So for grammar, you can do talking in paragraphs with topic sentences, or you can provide model sentences, sentence frames, or you can have them turn ordinary sentences into something more academic. And you would do the same for teaching vocabulary. For example, for vocabulary, we did a word sort just the other day, where students took certain words that have to do with evolution, and they had to sort it into different groups, and really it's using these kinds of activities to build vocabulary. So Focus Schmoker talks more about literacy, so academic language, and he argues that literacy is really the way to do sciencing, where it's how students become more interested in science is through close reading of scientific texts. So he argues that we don't really need more hands-on lab and experiments, and that lessons should focus more on content and engage students with core science ideas through reading their textbooks. So you can't really learn a discipline without being a habitual close reader in that discipline. And right now we do have new standards, so we don't technically have textbooks yet. But we're making the most of the textbooks that we do have right now. But we can also use supplementary texts, and he recommends that we use this every week or two, and using articles and scientific texts to talk about scientific discoveries and controversies. So right now in 7th grade, we use Science World magazines, and they get a new subscription every month, and every Tuesday the kids get to kind of read, and it doesn't have to be completely connecting to what you're learning about, but science is interconnected, so usually you'll find something in there that kind of connects to what you're currently learning. And then he also talks about writing in science and how we need to do more of that to kind of promote academic language. Students should be writing 1 to 2 paragraphs regularly, or at least 2 longer papers each year. This is something that we're not currently doing in my classroom, but something I want to work on, because through writing and reading supplementary texts, really that's how you promote the use of academic language, and it's how you learn science content, which should be, getting kids engaged. So thank you.